Hey guys, it's Mike Chen. No, death. That is the real final frontier. The great beyond, the proverbial bucket we kick, the dust we bite. It's no surprise that many of us have quite a morbid fascination towards it. In fact, most of human history have cultures that revere death and have even built ceremonies and traditions around it. Some of these traditions surviving to this very day. But beyond the glitz and glamour of the cultural and the religious, death is a natural process in life, and the process that happens to our physical bodies after dying is, well, it's less than glamorous. So hold on to your dinners because this is not for the faint of heart. Here are some things that happens to our bodies when we die. Number 10, we turn cold, literally. Within a few hours of kicking the bucket, our body temperature begins to drop and is left with a chill to the touch until it cools down to room temperature. This process is called rigor mortis. Basically, what happens is that when the heart stops pumping blood, the body slowly halts many of its functions, such as metabolism. In life, the blood that is pumped through our veins by our hearts also helps regulate our body temperatures. Ever notice that you feel a bit warmer after a strenuous activity like a workout? This is because of the metabolic process that happens when our heart pumps blood, and that said process is sped up. This is followed right away by breaking sweat, the body's signal to cool down and prevent it from overheating. Without anything to regulate the body's temperature, it quite literally goes cold turkey after death. Number 9, going stiff. Literally. This is probably the most obvious and easily detectable stage. Once the heart stops pumping, our body temperature drops, and what follows after is the stiffening of the muscles. Because as we mentioned, the heart has stopped pumping, blood begins to coagulate in the arteries and blood vessels. This coagulation results in the stiffening of the muscle, which makes it a bit difficult to bend the corpse in different ways, although why anyone would want to bend the corpse is completely beyond me. Imagine the body as a car or any kind of engine. Once you stop using it and turning it on, the fluid will begin to settle and solidify, preventing it from running properly, if not permanently. Anyway, rigor mortis sets around 2 to 6 hours after death. The body does not stay stiff forever though. As decomposition sets in, the muscle begins to deteriorate and basically turns into jelly once it putrefies. Number 7, flushed for color. We have all heard the phrase deathly pale, and it has so much to do with what happens to us when we die. Our bodies literally change color once our heart stops beating, because our circulatory system is basically shut down, and thanks to gravity, blood and fluids begin to settle in different parts of the body. While our bodies will not change a completely different color throughout, there are areas where there is more blood, where it will turn a shade of purple or purplish red, or a shade of blue similar to a bruise, while other parts will turn pale because blood being less concentrated were drained in those specific areas. Sometimes you hear people joking about how they peed or pooped themselves because they heard a really funny joke or were scared witless and lost control of their bowels. This is caused by the momentary relaxation of the sphincter, an organ in the body that, well, keeps it all in. Essentially, the sphincter is wired directly into our brain, and our body takes control of our bowels so that we avoid accidents while enjoying a walk in the park or relaxing doing yoga or on a first date. I have a horrific first date poop story, by the way. Not me, I'll tell you guys some other point. Anyway, when we die, our brain shuts down and muscle control is thrown out the window. This includes, of course, bladder and intestinal control. There are stories where people soil themselves immediately after dying because this function of the body is shut down. In some cases, bowel release happens hours later, and urine and fecal matter are oftentimes the most common items expelled. Number 5, the smell. The word putrid may have very well been invented for the single purpose of describing a decomposing dead body. Once the body shuts down, the cells also begin to deteriorate and die. During this process, the cells release enzymes as a chemical signal to local bacteria and fungi to let them know that they should get to work. As soon as bacteria takes over the decomposition process, putrefaction begins and intensifies the smell even further as cells, organs, and other body parts are breaking down. Number 4, the noises. Ask any doctor or any mortician and they will have stories about a corpse that suddenly moans, sighs, or even farts. The sounds a corpse makes is not because they're turning into the undead in order to wreak havoc on the living, maybe not all the time, but because of the combination of rigor mortis and different gases secreted by bacteria once the process of decomposition begins. Muscles may involuntarily twitch or contract, including the vocal cords, therefore creating sounds that can be mistaken for a supernatural occurrence. Number 3, wax. After the process of putrefaction, a process where our internal organs liquefy and turns into slush as a result of bacteria digesting our tissues, a wax-like fatty material called adipocere may develop, most especially if the body is exposed to or surrounded by cold soil or water. The process then allows this wax-like material to coat the body and in some instances mummify it. In the days before our understanding of the medical sciences, the belief that the bodies of several saints surviving decomposition is nothing short of a miracle and a sign from the heavens. A sign that a saint is incorruptible and untouchable even by decay. However, as our understanding of science and death advances throughout the centuries, the instant mummification and the preservation of these saints and their bodies have been attributed to saponification, where their bodies have been coated in the waxy material adipocere. Number 2, coffin birth. Okay, this one is really disturbing. It sounds like a bad horror movie title, but post-mortem fetal extrusion, where coffin birth occurs within 48 to 72 hours after a pregnant woman dies. And this is so terribly sad. As the body goes through the natural process of decomposition, the gases expelled by bacteria may collect in the abdominal area and force pressure on the uterus, thereby pushing out the baby from the body. And finally, number 1, going out with a bang. As gases begin to collect and our tissues decay and turn into slush, during this process, the eyes begin to bulge out of their sockets and the tongue begin to swell and is forced out of the mouth. As decay and putrefaction continues, the body keeps expanding. While gases may escape through different orifices, there are cases where a corpse may end up severely bloated and filled up with liquids and slush that will cause the body to explode with the slightest prick or jab. So there you go, guys. That's what happens when we all die. Definitely not looking forward to that. And I'm sorry the information is so graphic, but that's just what happens. And I think we finally solved the mystery of the Princess Bride. But then how he came back to life again, I don't know. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.